Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining me. My name is Callum. I am one of our recruitment CRM specialists here at the Access Group, and thank you all for taking some time this afternoon to have a look at my webinar. So today's topic, I'm going to be talking about making a strong start to when lockdown lifts, and obviously with the news recently, I'm sure that we're all very happy with in terms of our plan over the next couple of months as we look at our fourth stage. But like I say, I'm one of our recruitment CRM specialists here, so I'm going to be looking at some key topics and findings that we found from a recent pulse survey that we did with one of our partners called Talent Nexus. So we pulled out some key themes, key areas, which I hope will all be interesting to people on the webinar. And then towards the end, we'll be giving a short preview as well around the recruitment CRM, that I specialise in. And then if there's any time at the end, we'll be opening up for any questions. There is the option to ask questions, like I say, throughout, so feel free to add those in as we go. There is also a couple of handouts that we've done of some recent material. So if you'd like just more information about some stuff, about some topics, findings that we've had, have a look at those also. But without further ado, I guess a bit of an introduction in terms of the topics that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So we'll be looking at lockdown, like I say, and the key findings of trends in those. And underneath that are changing client landscape, managing the candidate-rich market, advice for the new world of work, and then, like I say, a little short preview of Access Recruitment CRM, how that might help, followed by a short question and answer. So, first of all, looking at lockdown 3, so how did this affect recruiters? Like I say, so we recently did a survey with our partner called Talent Nexus, pulse survey. So we asked a load of recruiters and, of course, a range of questions about how lockdown 3 affected them and all those sort of things. And these are just a couple of quotes that we found from our research. So we've got one here, like I said, I won't read them out completely, but we've got a couple around our top one, schools being closed and how this had an impact particularly to that particular recruiter in their world of education, but how that they changed the way that vetting compliance, how they use remote interviews, how they became a bit more strategic and longer term, and also how the candidates' attitudes changed towards that. But they use technology to support their development, even with the fewer heads that they had as part of the business. We had found that obviously less jobs and candidates not willing to change jobs as much as they used to be. And I'm sure it's understanding that most people found enough conversations day in, day out with recruiters. And again, I think it's very much down to the industry you work in, sector, but I think that was a general consensus from most people. The business has been heavily affected, as you can imagine. Have seen sort of business increase during lockdown 3. I imagine that's probably down to what we would say and what, like I say, speaking with people around what they found was that, we're going to come to this slightly in a bit more detail later, about how our clients sort of had a new function around the new normal, in inverted commas. And that's something that we looked at. And then, like I say, the final part of the impact being considerable. But like I say, without further ado, I'm going to lead now into the client landscape, so how this changed. So this was taken in, like I say, December, so a couple of months back. There's just some key stats, if you like. And again, I'm not going to read through all of these, allow those to take those all in, but there's a couple that I'm just going to peel out, talking about a bit more detail. So, we got 50% or 56% of in-house recruiters need to fill existing vacancies at the moment. That was taken. So it's still a busy period for our in-house recruiters. So the question, how you as an agency, how can you best support that, take some workload, the value that you can offer those particular clients you're working with. But 81% of recruitment agents said winning new clients is their top priority for 2021. We'll come into a moment how rich the candidate landscape is at the moment and how many there are. But again, clients, how they're going to focus their attention on that. And then, like I say, 38% of recruitment agents said that ability to track candidates stayed the same during the pandemic. So my question to that would be, those 62%, what have they done? What have they done to change how they attract their candidates? And when we say that, is that becoming easier or harder? Have they considered using different tactics? LinkedIn is probably the go-to, if you like, or job boards or something. But again, technology is part of that. And of course, so like 62% concerned about clients not recruiting. And I think that's I'd say obvious in terms of the landscape we're in at the moment. I'm sure as we see coming out the back of that, that may decrease. But like I said, the key takeaways that we've taken from that were actually engaging your clients. That was a topic of what our recruiter said to us when we spoke to them. How do you engage with those people? So rather than just B2B, if you like, in terms of that, and it's all about the commercial stuff, take away from it. How do you, as an agency, offer value? How do we make that, the in-house recruiter's life, that hiring manager's life, a bit easier for you? So, the relationship, the engagement, so that when they do come to recruit again, how can you be best positioned to offer value to that specific client? Have you incorporated using blogs or websites, or you've been posting out LinkedIn? I know I've seen plenty of things at the moment. Myself personally, for example, towards the start of this lockdown, I was doing some vlogs, a diary, if you like, of working through a different landscape for our SME businesses, and how that was changing as we were going through lockdown. You've seen it plenty of times, people talking about roles they have available and stuff, for example. So everybody's changed the way that they've had to do things. But again, build a talent-led strategy. So understanding a candidate skill set is never more important, because, and again, we're going to touch on this in slightly a bit more detail in a second, but how many candidates are about. So when you are going to that client and saying, right, these are the people that we found, and it might be that you found them on LinkedIn, or you found them via your databases pre-existing, or they registered with you on your website, how will you be labeling those people up to make sure that you can best position yourself as a recruiter, as an agency, to that client? And of course, and there's a quote I'm going to come on to later from one of the industry experts we spoke to around enhancing that digital footprint as well. So ability and agility to meet the demands for that client, better served online. But like I said, the other side of this is, of course, candidates. Now, I speak day in, day out with recruiters, and really it's, if anything, probably 90%, 80%, if you like, will say that candidates, loads of, out of their ears. It is busy at the moment. It is a landscape where it's a very heavily rich candidate market. But we are seeing some key trends that come from that. And again, from the Talent Nexus survey that we did. So people are maybe a tad more reluctant to move. We've got contractors now looking at going to go permanent as we look at things. We've got people interested in different types of roles. But overall, our candidates are a bit more responsive to us. They're engaging with us slightly, but there's probably not just one agency they're engaged with. It could be 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, an expectation that as well for our candidates, that longer term, a flexible working from home attitude may be taken when we fully reopen. I've had plenty of people again that will say they've decided that they're going to completely not use their offices anymore because they trust in one another, and it makes their lives easier just from both a personal and professional circumstance of where they are. And again, greater interest around security of our roles. But also seeing that a higher volume of candidates applying rather underqualified or didn't have enough experience for those roles. So what question, and then again, some things. So this quote, again, in July 2020, the first wave of redundancies happened. A lot of people furloughed, panicked too. The job boards were awash with candidates. Some calmed down and stayed. Now, December, Jan 2021, I think candidates holding off looking for jobs. There has been no new year, new job burst of candidates here. So what we'd seen previous was that candidates applying willy-nilly to roles, and obviously they're applying things that they may be underqualified for without no experience in. But as we move towards the start of this year, candidates are becoming a bit more maybe tactical, but also probably down to how people and how agencies have also used things like their website, for example, or how they use LinkedIn and blogs to be able to orientate themselves towards specific niches, stuff like that. So, you go to them, understand, okay, this is the right sort of agency that I want to work with. And of course, that means that the candidates are coming through your door, though it's heavy. Would you rather spend a day looking through 500 candidates and only find 100 relevant, or again, a slightly lower, but finding them all relevant? So it's where you can make your best value and obviously, of course, provide that value to your client. And the key takeaways I would say, and how managing those. So it offers a bigger pool. remote working first and foremost. So if we consider that actually you don't have to be 10 minutes away from your doorstep in order to complete that role, to do that role, to be part of that business, and that opens up to more exciting candidates, somebody that might be just a bit more available for that role. More contractors, like I say, looking to go perm. It's not, is that what the clients are looking at the moment? Again, asking those sort of questions. The flexibility that we're doing around pay. So anybody that I speak to around sort of temporary recruitment or anything like that, flexibility to be able to offer to one another, take an extra shift or something like that, incentive to keep people, to keep that loyalty, build that loyalty between both you, the client, and you, the candidate, as well, around that worker. And also speed up that onboarding process. So a lot of the time, if there's ever an issue that I will find, it's that heavily engaged, people will come to you, they'll apply to your job boards, whatever it might be, you have a call with them, you understand what they're looking for, etc., etc. And it's that process afterwards, it's that next step about how do I get that individual I've just spoken towards to work with me as a recruiter, to maybe be their sole recruiter. At the moment, it's a hugely difficult process because there is just so many, say, people that are applying for roles left, right, and centre. But part of that journey that could be sped up, like I say, the onboarding part. So making that easy, making sure, right, okay, we need A, B, and C, and D from you, and then I'll be able to do this, for example. And again, how might you embrace maybe technology to do that? And that's what leads me on to this slide here. So we spoke with a number of recruitment leaders, and we had an event back in November called Access All Areas, which was virtual, and we had some really great people on there talking about stuff. But these were just 4 quotes that I picked out around different things. So, and I'm going to pick on the two on the left-hand side here, both Jamie and Andrew's, basically, which is that self-service, end-to-end, mobile-friendly continuity. It's necessary for the future recruitment, but achievable with the right bit of kit. Remember that technology has evolved, it advanced quickly, embrace the change. And that, again, falls quite nicely with what Andrew said, which is that you have to make that process or technology a fundamental part of recruitment. You see from all the numbers and stats around people that are applying or engagement, all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, if you can have your technology do that, if you can have your technology do it without you really having to do anything more, you can spend more time on what's important to you. Having that conversation with a candidate or a client, building that relationship, and allow the technology to take over, not have to do anything else. And the other part of this actually was we asked them during the survey about the people. So putting your people first. And this is a couple of bits that were pulled out. So tips for the future, as they sort of describe it. So we've seen, and for example, here at the Access Group, so I've been working from home now, if you like, for nearly a year. I've not stepped foot in an office since March 2020, which does feel like a long old year. But we've seen that recruiters have done and companies have done different things to help build camaraderie or embrace working from home attitude. So whether it was a call on a slightly earlier call on a Friday to finish early, or whatever it might be, it was middle of the day quizzes or something over lunch. I've seen companies as well make the life easier for individuals by providing them with old laptops or something like that for their kids to be able to work from home easier in terms of schooling and stuff like this. Again, that's part of the process, which is why, as we look at that, how would you put your people first? So if you're a leader, don't cancel that training budget. Don't get away that people are still want to gain extra qualifications or want to explore different things, and just explore what culture you are as well as a company. What is your mantra to an extent? And it doesn't have anything to do with direct relationship between the colleagues, but it's like I say, it's wanted to be more and be more accountable, if you like. And as we've seen, flexible working can work. Like plenty of conversation about people that will never return to offices. People that will never go into it. So loads of different tips and bits and bobs for the future as well. The other thing, like I say, if we look forward in the next part, building blocks to this lockdown, if you like, is building efficiencies into your business. So I'm going to take a little bit of time talking about this. So what can you do as a process as a company, as a group or a team, whatever it might be, just even as an individuals, to make your life that tad easy. So we've seen today, so the amount of people that are applying or clients that we have or haven't had, or whatever it is, how can we make those lives of people that tad easier? So future fit tech, are you ready for future opportunities? Are you ready that, for example, your client may come to you and say, we want to do some contract stuff, we want to do some temporary, but you're perm. You know, what about if you're, again, vice versa? You've got the technology there to be able to shift and change and evolve with where your client sits and needs, for example. Are you giving the responsibility of some of that to other people? You know, like a lot of time we find that, you know, things again like payroll or anything like that can be outsourced, or job postings can be outsourced and automated. So what you're not having to do is go to 10 different areas to be able to put in data that you already know of. And ultimately you can spend more time what's important to you, you know, just speaking with that client, you know, say engaging with him, creating that relationship, calling up candidates again, having conversation with those, or onboarding, whatever it might be. Working collaboratively, so developing relationship with partners and discover synergies. So again, how do you as a group, as a team, you know, develop those partnerships with people? You know, do you have a go-to, blah, blah, you know, this sort of stuff will. Team, for example, is a good one. AppSco, all these sort of places, again. And finally, if we talk about technology, I guess, which is, you know, what we specialize in, what other people specialize in, if you like, is how painful are your systems? You know, how can you make that process that tad easier for and that's not the clients and candidates, absolutely, you know, we want to make that, but also your consultants, also yourselves, you know, how do you make actually the point of getting somebody attracted to you, to your business, blah, blah, how do you make that process, the life of that individual, that tad easier? And of course, like I say, once doing that, everything just flows. But the important thing I also want to focus on is that, it said in one of the quotes actually by, I think it was Jamie, that it's important that these processes are reviewed. You know, it's important that you constantly have a review of how things are going. You know, what conversations are you having? What can be improved? How are market shifting, etc. So, you know, whether that's bi-quarterly, whether that's every 3 months, monthly, whatever it might be, you're constantly reviewing how can we improve our process. So that's like that's about it, and I've spoken there for nearly 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do now is just a bit of an introduction. We had half an hour today for our webinar, so I'm just going to give a bit of a 5-minute overview here of Access Recruitment CRM and some of the ways that, like I say, our clients will use this across different sectors. So I'm now just going to change my screen here into my Google Chrome. So what we're looking at here, if you like, is first and foremost that we're introduced into Access Workspace. So this is an area, if you like, and we talk about technology and we talk about you know, embracing that sort of stuff. So for here, for example, one of the way we have embraced technology at Access is creating an area where, again, if you have different systems for access, which we provide, no longer have to worry about keeping 10 different passwords. It's all just kept in one area, one single sign-on. But then second to that, you're provided with data and information that comes from your software, whatever it might be, that gives you an insight into what's going on in your world. But I'm just going to touch on a couple of key areas, if you like, to create a CRM. So if I consider, like I say, how I make my life easier as a recruiter, it's about all that information being accessible and easy for me to get at whenever I need it to. So I haven't got to worry about my email syncing, because a CRM system will sync in with my Outlook or my Gmail, you know, and I can have all those items related in an area, and we call a notebook. When I want to send a CV out to a client or a front sheet or something like that, I can click on an icon at the top here. I can send it to jobs, I can send it to contacts, I can send it to a group of people, whatever it might be. But again, I'm giving clear information about where my candidate is, and candidate here, Chris, is at in their process. If I'm talking about the world of compliance and stuff and making that a bit easier for myself, you know, not only can I store documents and stuff like that, but also I can track if they're compliant or not, depending on the different things that I'm asking for. But what about, like I say, if I'm managing a role for a client? So I'm going to explore just two areas. So if I look at maybe a permanent role here, again, greeted with key information about what's going on. I can see how many people I've got at interview stage, example. But then we talk about how that CRM system, if I'm talking about this, what I specialize in, about how that may connect up with other different dots. So if I want to be able to post out job adverts to CV Library, Indeed, Read, and places like that, I can do so via my Idaboo or Broadbean attachment that just sits at my tabs at the top. I can use, again, Volcanic here. I can be able to post jobs out to my website because I have a Volcanic website as well. If I want to see where people are at in the process, I can click into my actions and see this is the select few that I'm working on at the moment. I can see what stage they're at, or interview. I can see when things have been updated. I can see when their CVs have been sent. I can see when something has changed on their record here on the right-hand side. What about if you do temporary? If you do shift, like whatever it might be, again, how do you make that process easier? So I go into a slightly different area, into my scheduling, if you like, that we have for our fast-moving temporary workers. Again, greeted with an overview of what I've got on from a specific role that is a specific client. I can match people based upon locations and skills and all that sort of stuff. And then if I want to put somebody into a role, I can pick them up, drag them across, drop them into the actual shift. If I want to make that life a little bit easier and send emails and confirmation messages out of the software, I can do. I can send an SMS. I can send that over to Danny here that's in that role. I can use a template and I can bring in the confirmation example. Again, the quick actions of being able to take that CRM, being able to bring in the details about the role with ultimately just inside a couple of clicks. That reduces that for me, makes the candidate experience that bit nicer. What if I want to report on everything as well? Want to see how I'm getting on, or again, go into a bit of client information. I can click into my clients in here. I can use, again, quick actions. So I can go into my favorites and go into my clients and pick out a particular one if I wanted to. Again, almost similar to how I use Google Chrome at the moment or something like that. I can get to the information I want to quickly, effectively. It doesn't feel too alien from me as well. And that's also key. It's how it's interpreted by your team, by yourselves. Do you feel like you can navigate around with this kit? But also, like I say, if you wanted to report on things, for example, about how many interviews or invoices you've done or something like that, again, is it all at a click of a button for you to be able to go and access? And those are just a couple of key features, again, that people that use Access Recruitment CRM or use us for other different bits of kit will pick on. It's got to be that accessibility to it. And that is, like I say, a bit of a short introduction to Access Recruitment CRM. I'll just head back to my slideshow now. I'll also finish with any questions, So again, appreciate everybody taking some time out. So if there's any questions, I could just have a look now and answer those. Cool. So got a question here. That's just around the Access Recruitment CRM. So again, the Access Recruitment CRM, could I use it if I was permanent, temp, or any of the other? So the answer to that is yes, absolutely. If you're a permanent recruiter, we have people that use that. We work from startup agencies right through to very big, 200-300 people, if you like, and anywhere in between. So whether you specialize in a top sector or anything like that, which actually leads to the question below that, which is, do we specialize in a certain sector? The answer to that is no, we don't. We don't have a specific sector. We allow people to, for example, custom create their own attributes and stuff like that, if we've got it. And again, you can add in your own clients, all that sort of stuff. So it doesn't have to be, you can create your own sectors. Integration, a question. So somebody's probably picked this up recently over LinkedIn, again, using social media. So yes, we recently have released a cloud call integration as well. So you'll be able to click to dial and things like that out of the software if you want to, in terms of the Access Recruitment CRM. That is, again, absolutely no problem to do so if you, again, happy to show those on demos and things like that. And then there's a final question here. I won't read too many. So there's one more question here. It just says, is there anything else that Access provides? So yes, there is. Yeah. So we've got seen on there. So we've got Volcanic as a website. We've got screening. We have pay and bill solutions. So we've got a couple, as well as across a range of different like stuff like that. But I will have done that. And the final thing I think for us to say is that, look, thank you ever so much for everybody joining today's webinar and taking some time out, and hopefully with some insightful findings into the industry and what we've done over the last couple of months with, like I say, with people that we've spoken through and with Talent Nexus, not forgetting the hard work that those guys did. The final thing for us to finish on today is to say we're actually running so an Access All Areas Recruitment 2021. So this is going across all our different divisions next week, you know. So we've got 14 webinars over 4 days, which include a load of different topics. We've got guest speakers coming in from APSCO, from Staffing Industry Analytics as well. We are doing some stuff around healthcare. We are looking at future of our roadmap as well, doing some development. So again, if you want to wrench in for those, we've got, like I say, introduction to our new recruitment CRM worker app as well, from our managing director. So again, those registrations are now open. There's a link down the bottom. This webinar will be now available on demand as well for people to view. If you picked for anything, want to have a little bit more detail, like I say, please have a look at the handouts that have been shared with you today. And if there are any questions or any more information, here's some contact details from me. LinkedIn, please connect with me on LinkedIn as well. Happy to do that sort of stuff. You'll see me post out every so often about new things that we've done or doing. But thank you ever so much for everybody joining today. Thank you for watching, and have a lovely rest of the day and have a lovely rest of the week.